Imagine a number. 2, imagine my imaginary friend. This isn't real. That can't be real either, okay? Now that might be a little difficult, but it might help you if I told you some things about this imaginary friend. Say he's green, he's about that tall, and he's furry. So that helps you imagine him a little bit. Now, with this number you're trying to imagine that it's the square root of -1. If you square it, it's -1, and it's not a real number. So, also I'll give the imaginary friend a name, Gus, and I'll give the imaginary number a name, I. Now, if I asked you to play ball with this guy, Gus, you'd have trouble doing it. And if I asked you to put this in, plug it in as a ratio, like a value, you might not have trouble doing it, but also you wouldn't understand like what it was. And a long time ago, mathematicians, some of them didn't like it because when you took out the name, that's what they got. So for a long time, that's kind of how it's been thought of. Now let me tell you something else. Back a long time ago, when the number line was around, it didn't have negative numbers. It would have looked more like this. Now, when negative numbers came out, everybody was super confused. Furthermore, with this, if you take I times I squared, I times itself, you get -1. And everybody knows if you square a number, you can't get a negative. So, like how negative numbers at first were confusing to even mathematicians, imaginary numbers are still very confusing to us. Hopefully, though, in the future, people will understand them more. Here's the best way, too. So, when you think of numbers, you think of a number line. Now, imaginary numbers, you're like, what even are they? But the way you have to think of it is a second dimension. Now, this isn't supposed to be like an XY scale where you measure a shape of some sort in. It's just a number line with a second dimension to it. Now, if you take this pattern, I to the I cubed, I to the 4th, 5th, 6th, it makes a pattern. It is I, negative I, 1. I, negative I, 1. Now, with that, it tells you that instead of just going back and forth between 1 squared is 1 and -1 squared is 1, back and forth, it tells you that instead you can rotate around. Instead of just going 180 degrees, you can go 90, and it's somewhere in the middle. So with this second dimension, you can understand that imaginary numbers aren't really imaginary like Gus, they're real.